Revealed, CEO lawyer's amazing act of kindness transforms freezing bride's life at a bus stop. Sarah stood shivering at the bus stop, the relentless snowstorm swirling around her like an inescapable darkness. Her heart raced as she looked at her phone for what felt like the 100th time, hoping for a sign of life from her fiancé. The wedding of her dreams loomed ahead, yet the future seemed to blur into a wall of white flakes swirling around her. A text from Ethan flashed on the screen, stuck in traffic. Can't make it just like that. Her heart sank into despair. Was today the day she'd disappoint everyone, including herself? The bouquet of white roses weighed heavily in her grasp, symbols of love and expectation from her family. Her mother, who had sacrificed so much for Sarah's future, had banked everything on this day, an anchor of hope amidst their turbulent past. Sarah clenched the stems tighter, her fingers going numb in the icy air. Memories flooded back of late nights studying while working 2 jobs just to make ends meet, all for this moment. But instead of joy, she felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over her, realizing that she might not just be late. She could miss her wedding entirely. The snow fell heavier, casting a gray hue over her world, and as anxiety crept in, she questioned every step that led her here. What if Ethan never arrived? What if she stood alone at the altar, a frigid reminder of her failures, her ambitions lost in the blizzard? She felt suffocated by the burdens she carried, the expectations of family, the weight of her aspirations. The imagined disappointment of loved ones loomed over her like dark clouds, whispering doubts that pinched at her confidence. Just then, a sleek black car pulled up beside her, cutting through the storm like a beacon. The driver, Jack, a 35-year-old CEO and seasoned attorney, peered out, concern etched across his lined face. He had just staggered out of a high-stakes meeting, exhaustion mirrored in his eyes. The sight of Sarah's desperation ignited an unexpected urge to help. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice cutting through the storm. Reluctantly, Sarah stepped into the warmth of the car, but the tension simmered just below the surface. They traded stories amidst the chaos, revealing layers of their lives that seemed to connect them beyond the immediate situation. Sarah shared tales of her mother's perseverance, of nights spent hustling to pay tuition, all while under the spotlight of family expectations. Jack's sympathies resonated as he opened up about the aspirations that dictated his choices and the crushing loneliness that sometimes accompanied his perceived success. The warmth of their connection began to thaw the cold around them, a temporary escape from her swirling doubts. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but as they drew closer to the venue, Jack's phone rang. The call was laced with urgency, a family emergency. His sister had been in an accident. The world outside blurred as he struggled with his thoughts. He glanced at Sarah, oblivious to the storm raging inside him. Torn between the duty to save his family and the opportunity to help a stranger fulfill her dreams, his mind raced. Time was slipping away, each tick amplifying the weight of Jack's decision. Would he spare her the anguish of a wedding turned into a heartbreaking moment? The snow intensified, challenging the very fabric of their newfound connection, while the question loomed larger than the skyscrapers outside. In the chaos of these lives, would kindness or obligation win? As uncertainty wrapped around them like a storm, both futures rested precariously in the balance, teetering on the edge of a decision that could change everything. Jack's heart pounded against his chest as he faced the insistent beeping of his phone. His sister's voice echoed in his mind, pleading for reassurance that help was on the way. The whirlwind of snow outside felt almost like a metaphor for the turmoil inside him. Should he abandon the hope he had ignited in Sarah just moments ago? He was suddenly acutely aware that she was a stranger to him. Yet in this brief interaction, she had revealed fragments of herself that carved a place in his conscience. The car moved, momentum picking up towards the venue, but Jack was slipping away freely along with it. Each glance towards Sarah, a young woman bursting with potential and marred by dire expectations, prompted a wave of empathy that collided with the urgency of his family obligations. He could choose to drive her to the life-altering moment she sought, but at what cost? Would his absence from his family unravel something even more consequential? The silence between them grew heavy, thickening as their thoughts devolved into internal battles. Sarah felt the air shift. She sensed Jack's hesitance and couldn't help but wonder if she was, once again, demanding too much. What good would it bring her if he, the only source of hope against her overwhelming disappointment, withdrew from her life as quickly as he had entered it? Listen, she began, breaking the oppressive silence. I know you have something important going on. I'm just a bride waiting for a fiancé as the world falls apart around me. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Her laughter was dry, hollow against the backdrop of snow-laden streets. Jack turned to her, his expression conflicted. Your wedding? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The gravity of the situation pressed in on him, urging him to confront the depth of Sarah's turmoil. This wasn't just about a romantic engagement. Beneath her poise lay aspirations being crushed under the weight of expectations. It's everything I've worked for, everything my mother hoped for. And now, because of, life, I'm here, alone in a blizzard. Her eyes shimmered with vulnerability. It feels like I'm stuck in this moment forever. I can't let it end like this. Each word resonated within him, echoing his own hidden fears. He had chased success and accolades to shatter the expectations placed on him. Yet, here he was, faced with delivering hope to a stranger. Maybe what you need isn't just some last-minute arrival. Maybe you need to realize that it's all right to let go of certain expectations, even if it means accepting an unexpected turn of events. There it was, a flicker of understanding, an organic connection that went beyond circumstance. But still, the conflict inside him raged. The dual pressures of ambition and human compassion clawed at his consciousness. Did he dare prioritize this disjointed connection over familial obligation? Time seemed to stretch as he wrestled with his thoughts. It was a moment begging for clarity, and as the venue came into sight, life kept pushing him to act. Can you trust me for a moment? He finally said, a hint of desperation weaving through his confidence. Sarah studied his eyes, searching for truth amidst the haze, a kindred spirit bound by the storms swirling around them both. I trust you, she answered softly, a glimmer of hope sparking in her. In that moment, Jack made a decision. Instead of defaulting to familial duty, he reached for his phone and began texting his sister, crafting a message that balanced urgency with care. He would find a way to help Sarah, to guide her through the storm, while still being present for his family. The car rolled to a stop at the venue entrance, and Sarah turned to him with wide eyes and a hopeful smile. But the moment was abruptly cut short as she turned to the entrance, sensing that her entire world was about to tilt once again. In the thick of the snowstorm's intensity, would they both find a pathway illuminated by their choices, or would unforeseen circumstances freeze their aspirations in place? Jack's heart thudded relentlessly in his chest as he leaned forward, peering through the thickening snow swirling outside. The ornate venue loomed before them, shrouded in a veil of white. Yet, as Sarah's gaze flickered toward the entrance, he saw the flicker of fading hope infiltrate her determined expression. Would he abandon her in this critical moment? The weight of his decision pressed heavier on his conscience by the second. Jack, we need to go, she said, her words firm but the tremor in her voice betraying her anxiety. He could see the sheer willpower that kept her from fully breaking down. The tightening in his gut urged him to act, to step beyond the confines of expectation and seize control of the situation they found themselves in. He had fought tooth and nail against the expectations fueled by his family's perception of him. I won't let you face this alone, he said, surprising even himself. Before Sarah could respond, he turned off the car engine and stepped into the chaos of the blizzard, conscious of how every movement in the fresh fallen snow caught the moment in stasis. With determination fueling him, he moved towards the entrance, feeling Sarah's presence trail closely behind. Once inside, they were enveloped in warmth and chaos, the blustery sound of cheerful music competing with the flurry of laughter and chatter. Jack's heart raced as he spotted people mingling. His vision momentarily blurred from the sudden change in temperature, the cavernous space bustling with a festive energy that clashed with the storm outside. But behind that facade, he knew the true struggle was happening right beneath the surface. "Where's your fiancé?" he asked, looking directly at Sarah as they navigated through the crowd. "This is his moment too. I assenti it?" "Yes," she answered, her eyes searching the sea of faces, desperation creeping back into her features. "But right now, I don't know where he is. And I don't even know if he is coming." Jack deepened his breath, wrestling with the reality of the moment. He saw the uncertainty etched in her gaze, a mirror of his own internal struggle. The overwhelming pressure to retrieve his family obligations and the emerging resolve to confront the situation together battled within him. There, amidst the crowd, he felt the electricity of agency stir inside him. "Listen to me," he said, pulling her gently to a quiet corner, away from the noise. "What if moving forward means letting go of the narrative you've clung to? What if it's time to rewrite what you've defined as your truth?" Sarah's eyes narrowed, confusion and frustration mixing. "And what foreshadow an ending that's not what I envisioned?" "Exactly. Maybe this is the cue to find out what you truly want, even if it means facing your fears. In this moment, it's still your choice to shape your destiny." As his words settled in the air between them, Jack noticed how they empowered Sarah, the panic in her gaze shifting to something firmer. The storm outside continued to howl, but within them both, a flame ignited. Jack sensed an unfamiliar resolve developing in him too. Stepping away from the confines of duty felt liberating. This connection and unexpected alliance forced him to peel back his own layers of conscientiousness, exposing a deeper necessity to confront not just Sarah's fears, but his own. "Let us find him," she said, newfound determination curling her lips into a daring smile. "Together," he affirmed, feeling vibrant energy pulse through them. As they began to search through the ever-spinning crowd, Jack became keenly aware that the path ahead would not only require courage, but would also test them both in ways they had yet to foresee. But just as they were ready to plunge deeper into the chaos, Jack's phone buzzed in his pocket, an urgent reminder of his familial obligations awaiting him outside the tumultuous joy. Anxiety churned in his stomach as he glanced at Sarah, emboldened yet unaware of the looming storm within him. Would he dare to confront his brother's expectations, or would the path they were forging risk everything he had built upon? The decision loomed, a battle of loyalty and desire, propelling Jack into the depths of his own revelations waiting to unfold. Jack's heart raced as he felt the weight of the buzzing phone in his pocket. His fingers hesitated over the screen, the message from his brother a stark reminder of the obligations waiting for him just outside these walls. The thought of leaving Sarah now, after making a decisive move, felt like betrayal. Yet, an internal storm brewed within him, a relentless tug between familial duty and the urge to step into the unexpected opportunity unfolding at his feet. "Jack," Sarah's voice broke through his tumultuous thoughts, drawing his attention back to her. She looked up at him, eyes searching, and he noticed the flicker of determination still shimmering beneath the uncertainty. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," he replied, forcing a smile. But his mind whirred with apprehensions, dark tendrils of doubt lacing through the optimism he had just inspired in her. He cleared his throat, using the moment to anchor himself, recognizing how pivotal this night could be. "Listen," he began slowly, "we need to find your fiancé. It feels crucial, right?" He paused, measuring his words carefully. "But if we can't locate him quickly, we may have to consider the next steps." "Like what?" she asked, a frown creasing her brow. Jack realized that this was more than merely finding someone. It was about unearthing deeper truths within themselves, like exploring what this night could mean beyond expectations. "For you, and for me." She regarded him with an intensity he hadn't expected, a fragile hope rising once again in her expression. "But how do we find him?" Just as he considered an answer, another text pinged on his screen. The urgency surged again, but a subtle shift in perspective set a new fire ablaze within him. Instead of retreating into old patterns, Jack decided to seize the moment. "Let us split up," he said. "You can talk to some of his friends. I'll check with the others." Her uncertainty flashed again, but was quickly replaced by resolve. Together, they initiated their search, dispersing into the crowd. The festive atmosphere continued to swirl around them, juxtaposed against the heavy significance of the night. As Jack navigated through clusters of chattering guests, he couldn't help but feel the pull of his family's expectations, each laugh and smile punctuating the loyalty he had assumed to uphold. Determination surged anew, pushing him to reevaluate his own significance. He needed to confront the narrative he had long accepted. Approaching a small group, Jack inquired after Sarah's fiancé, but met with blank stares and uncertain murmurs. A feeling of dread crawled up his spine, intensifying when snippets of conversation suggested that no one else had seen him either. What if the burden of uncertainty weighed too heavily on Sarah? What if he was not enough to confront the expectations he'd long tried to evade? He leaned against a nearby wall, taking a moment to gather his thoughts. As the cacophony of laughter enveloped him, Jack realized that this lens through which he viewed his responsibilities had shifted. His family's vision of success was no longer his own. In stepping into the chaos with Sarah, he felt the urge to redefine success, not just as familial approval, but resonating within connections that mattered. But beneath that clarity lay deeper doubt. Was confronting the expectations set by his family a noble pursuit, or a reckless indulgence? A chance moment crystallized near him. A hushed voice mentioned Sarah's fiancé's name, sparking Jack's focus entirely. He moved closer, catching fragments of a conversation. The truth was out there, waiting amidst the noise, and so was his own path toward recovery. His heart raced. It was time to act decisively. "Sarah," he called out, re-emerging from the shadows of indecision. He saw confusion flutter on her face before he continued, "I think I found something. We need to talk." With the weight of anticipation, they shared a palpable moment of revelation. Would this revelation sharpen their resolve, or forge yet another layer of confusion in the labyrinth of their intertwined paths? As they regrouped, Jack felt the air shiver with possibilities, a renewed urgency electrifying the space between them. The storm inside was far from over, but so was the storm outside, and as they prepared for whatever lay ahead, he sensed they were no longer mere pawns in fate's game. It was only the beginning of exposing their destinies. Would they dare to embrace whatever awaited them on this turbulent journey? The crowd thinned as Jack ushered Sarah into a secluded corner where the throbbing bass of the music and exuberant laughter faded into the background. His heart still raced, but a clear path had emerged from the tumult, a thread linking her fiancé's sudden absence to their shared moments of vulnerability and courage. "Jack, what did you hear?" Sarah asked, her anxious tone pulling at him. He took a breath, the air heavy with more than just uncertainty. Someone mentioned seeing him near the partners' lounge. He seemed agitated, looking for someone. "I think it's worth checking out." A flicker of hope ignited in her eyes. Yet beneath it lay the weight of fear and despair. Jack recognized this. Her strength came with fractures. The notion of being okay was a facade they were both wearing, masking the chaos that rippled just beneath the surface. "I can't drag you into my mess. I just feel so lost," she whispered, a tremble in her voice. Jack's resolve hardened. "No, this isn't just your mess. It's ours now. We're doing this together." His words vibrated with an urgency he hadn't felt before, awakening a part of him that sought authenticity over obligation. He grasped her hand, forging a connection that spoke volumes without needing to articulate every worry. They made their way through the ambience of glimmering lights and ebullient chatter, each step drawing them closer to not only the truth about her fiancé, but also deeper parts of themselves. Every laugh contrasted sharply with their silent mission, revealing the absurdity of feigned joy while grappling with looming uncertainties. As they approached the partners' lounge, Jack's pulse intensified. Doubts crept in. What if they found nothing? What if other revelations surfaced that shattered the fragile trust blooming between them? He realized that he wasn't merely supporting her. He was confronting his own perceptions of loyalty, commitment, and truth. Inside the lounge, the lights were softer, more intimate. Couples huddled together, sharing whispered secrets and dreams. The atmosphere felt intoxicatingly close, yet the emotional distance he felt was jarring. Would finding Sarah's fiancé mark the final act of redemption for both of them, or would it drag them back into familiar chaos? "Jack, look," Sarah said suddenly, pointing towards a dark figure hunched over in a far corner. It was her fiancé, his body language exuding agitation and distress. Jack's heart plunged, a mix of urgency and dread bubbling in his chest. "Stay here. I'll handle this," Jack asserted, not recognizing his own authority in that moment. He was stepping up, shedding the reluctant shadows of the past. "Be careful," Sarah whispered, her voice threading frailty through her concern, yet also projecting an unexpected trust in him. As he approached, Jack could see the rugged contours of her fiancé's face. Confusion and anger coiled in his posture. The facade was crumbling. But as he drew nearer, Jack felt a surge of empowerment. Here was a chance at confrontation, not solely for Sarah's sake, but for his too. He needed this. It felt like a reclamation of agency in his life. "Hey," Jack called, voice steady but charged. "We need to talk." The room shrank around them as the man shifted, surprise flaring for an instant before irritation clouded his features. "Why? What do you want?" He spoke, each word dripping with confrontation, but Jack sensed the underlying fear. "This isn't just about you running away. It's about Sarah. She deserves to know what is happening. And maybe you need to talk about what is happening with you too. We're here to explore the truth, the real truth." The words hung, thick and palpable. Jack felt the weight of their combined destinies in that moment. Would this conversation forge a new path, or would it unravel all that he had begun to piece together? As vulnerability threatened to spill into chaos, Jack's own past flashed through his mind. Confidence replaced impatience as he understood. This was the twilight of their uncertainty. Nothing could daunt him, not now, not when the real journey of reclaiming their narratives had just begun. "Let us just talk openly," Jack insisted, his tone more insistent now. And as he stood facing this man, he felt the rusted gears of his own perception beginning to shift, ready to revolutionize everything. But as their eyes locked, a new unease settled over him. The truth was closer than ever, yet just like the labyrinthine emotions rising around them, he couldn't shake the sense that the path to resolution would be paved with deeper revelations. What awaited wasn't just a simple conversation. It could well become a reckoning. What would unfold might shatter everything he believed about obligation and authenticity, drawing clear lines that irrevocably altered who he thought he was. He hadn't anticipated the decision lurking behind that door, or the secret that could redefine the fabric of their intertwined lives. Jack felt the weight of the moment descend like heavy shutters, blocking the light and exposing the raw nerve of both his and Sarah's lives. The tension in the air was electric, charged with uncertainty. He took a step closer, eyes fixed on Sarah's fiancé, whose defensive posture screamed betrayal. "Why do you care?" The fiancé spat, searching for a chink in Jack's newfound armor. The challenge seethed with desperation, a mask worn by someone cornered, his expression hardened but vulnerable. Jack inhaled deeply, steadying the swell of emotions threatening to spill over. "Because she deserves honesty," he replied, his voice firm yet careful. "And maybe you need it too. Pretending everything is fine isn't working for either of you." He didn't just want to defend Sarah. He was finding the strength to defend his own convictions. This moment wasn't just about clearing a fogged path for Sarah. It was also about carving a new trajectory for himself, asserting his role not just as a bystander, but as an active participant in their shared destiny. "I didn't ask for your input," came the harsh retort, but Jack saw the flicker of regret in the fiancé's eyes. Jack pressed on, feeling a surge of determination. To remain silent was to allow chaos to continue unchecked. "Maybe not, but I'm here now. We're both here," he said, motioning to Sarah, who stood a few feet back, her look a blend of fear and determination. "It's time for a conversation that can't be avoided any longer. No more pretending." Sarah's fiancé hesitated, his defenses momentarily down. Jack used that moment to redirect the conversation, searching for common ground. "Look, whatever you're running from or hiding, whatever this is causing between you two, maybe it's time to address it. Lies only lead to more pain." Jack's own voice trembled with resolve. It was empowering to speak with conviction, to let the hesitant parts of himself shed their skin. This wasn't merely a confrontation. It was Jack evolving, stepping into a version of himself he never knew existed. The fiancé shifted, his bravado cracking. "I didn't know how I thought if I stayed away. If I buried myself in work, it would all just go away, he muttered, the agitation in his voice contrasting with his wavering eyes. Jack sensed the vulnerability beneath the bravado. It won tea, and leaving her in the dark won tea help either of you. Jack pressed, feeling Sarah's presence bolster his own conviction. People need transparency, and especially between those who love each other. Have you even told her how you feel? She deserves clarity, and so do you. The fiancé raked a hand through his hair. Frustration morphed into inner conflict. I thought I was protecting her from the truth. Jack felt a flicker of empathy. That's what it often came down to. Fear driving undisclosed truths, allowing the unexamined past to poison current realities. It's not protection, Jack replied. It's abandonment. She's strong enough for the truth, just like you might be. At that moment, he realized he wasn't merely speaking for Sarah. He was also advocating for the truth in his own life, hoping to nurture a bond based on authenticity rather than obligation. This confrontation was not solely a reckoning for Sarah's fiancé. It was a reckoning for his own understanding of relationships, loyalty, and his capacity to affect change. Jack, maybe Sarah's breathless murmur caught their attention as she stepped forward. Her expressive eyes reflected not only gratitude but an ember of courage ignited by Jack's resolute stance. I just need to know what is really going on. For both of us. The air thickened as Jack stepped back slightly, allowing them to engage directly. He felt a sense of urgency interwoven with hope this moment could reshape their lives and his. If Sarah's fiancé was willing to speak, it could lead to the honesty that had been denied for too long. But even as Jack withdrew, a shadow of uncertainty loomed overhead. Were they ready for the truth? What would be revealed if the floodgates opened? As silence engulfed them, anticipation crackled in the air. Jack's heart fluttered uncertainly in his chest, unsure whether their next step would be one of liberation or added despair. In that pregnant pause, he knew the confrontation might expose truths far darker than either Sarah or her fiancé had anticipated. Would it bring clarity or only throw them deeper into chaos? He braced himself. The moment was nigh, and with it came a sense of impending consequence, a reckoning that could irrevocably change all their lives forever. Would they have the fortitude to face it? As Jack stood back, the air thick with tension, he could feel the stirrings of an uncharted resolve rising within him. This singular moment of confrontation felt as if it had shifted the landscape of his life, peeling away the thick layers of complacency that had clouded his vision for far too long. He watched as Sarah's fiancé wrestled with his vulnerability, the facade cracking further with each passing second. The confrontation was transformative, a remnant of the man Jack had been slipping away, revealing the courageous figure he was becoming. "Let us talk," the fiancé finally murmured, his tone now laced with an edge of desperation. It was a feeble truce, yes, but it was significant all the same. Jack sensed Sarah fix her gaze on her fiancé, her eyes filled with an urgent plea for honesty, and for a split second, Jack felt a flicker of hope ignite. As they circled the looming topic, Jack noticed that the atmosphere in the small space shifted, the attention turning firmly to the fiancé. With a fragile breath, he began to untangle the knots of his truth. "I've been so wrapped up in my own fears. I didn't know how to face what I owe you, what I owe us." Jack tried to tune in, focusing his mind. It was less about the words being spoken and more about uncovering the emotional architecture beneath, the cracked plumbing of their relationship that had led to stagnation. This was not just about Sarah. It was about Jack finding his own footing, learning to construct meaningful connections rather than letting fear tether him to the sidelines. Sarah's fiancé shifted, discomfort pulsating through him. "I have been unfaithful, both with my time and my heart," he admitted, voice shaking as if each word cost him dearly. "I just thought maybe if I ignored it long enough it would go away." Jack felt the weight of that unshackled revelation ripple through him. With this raw admission, they were on the brink of a pivotal change, not just in Sarah's world, but within Jack's burgeoning worldview. He wondered if this exposure to deep emotional truths could serve as the catalyst for his own personal growth. He realized that learning to communicate openly wasn't just a necessity for others. It was a skill he needed to harness for himself. "Sarah deserves better than half-truths and evasions," Jack interrupted gently, searching for a way to circle back to her needs. "You both need clarity, even if it stings. Running will only lead to more anguish. The fiancé nodded, accepting the sting of Jack's words, contrasting the earlier defensiveness he had worn like armor. I know that now. My choices have hurt her, and I have hurt myself in the process. With each admission, Jack could feel a shift inside him, an awakening to the richness of honesty. It was as if he had perched himself on the precipice of a cliff, the consequences of looking down both thrilling and terrifying. Would he leap further into his own vulnerabilities now? This confrontation, while initially about Sarah, had become his own lesson in accountability, revealing unexamined fragments of himself that demanded acknowledgement. Sarah took a step closer, her heart clearly pounding with a mix of trepidation and newfound bravery. I want to hear everything, she breathed, fortifying her stance. I can't remain in the dark. Now was Jack's time, too. As he witnessed Sarah's strength blossoming before him, he realized that speaking up for her, for truth, served to magnify his own strength. What if, in this moment, he chose to reclaim his voice? To voice his feelings, fears, and aspirations? This could be his moment to catalyze deeper transformation in himself. Can I add something? Jack began, suddenly aware that he was fast approaching a fork in his journey. Before we move forward, I have to be honest with myself and with you both. I've been in love with you, Sarah, for a long time. Silence enveloped them again, stifling and dense, yet pregnant with potential. Jack held his breath as he processed his own words, feeling the thrill of vulnerability coursing through him. This wasn't just about confrontation. It was about liberation, his own and theirs. How would they react to this unexpected honesty? As Sarah stared into Jack's earnest eyes, resisting the urge to look away, he realized their lives could indeed change irrevocably. What lay before him was not merely a path to deeper connection, but the promise of unraveling many layers of truth, not only for Sarah and her fiancé, but also for himself. But would the revelation draw them closer or push them apart? The question lingered in the air, electric and uncertain, with the weight of their collective futures suspended, daring them to take the next step into the unknown. The silence hung heavy, and Jack could almost see the thoughts swirling in Sarah's mind, tangled with her fiancé's confessions and his own declaration of love. He felt exposed, more than he had ever anticipated. The air around them was charged, each breath steeped in unvoiced questions and uncharted emotions. Jack took a half-step closer to Sarah, his heart racing as if trying to echo her pulse. He wondered if he had crossed a line. Vulnerability was a double-edged sword, and he had wielded it recklessly. Yet, for the first time in years, he felt a tether of authentic purpose. Jack, Sarah began, hesitation knitting her brow. The melons of surprise and uncertainty in her eyes struck him like a bolt. This wasn't just a matter of her reaction. It was the backdrop to a choice he needed to make for himself. He wrestled with the implications of his admission. Was this the ultimate betrayal of her trust, or rather an act of integrity that could forge a deeper connection? Jack had always prided himself on rationality, on measured steps, but now he sensed an urgency, an existential pull to stand tall amidst the chaos that had become entwined in their lives. Understand, I don't expect anything, Sarah. I'm just tired of living in the shadows. Her fiancé shifted, releasing a heavy sigh, as though Jack's words had unlocked an unseen door in the thicket of their shared history. You really mean that? He asked, incredulity coloring his tone. Although Jack hadn't intended to broker some peace in this fraught dynamic, he now understood that his honesty might serve a higher purpose. If they were to navigate out of this quagmire, rawness was essential. It's time we all faced what we've avoided for so long, Jack asserted, his voice steady and assured. Not just for Sarah's sake, but for our own. We can't move forward shackled to lies or unexpressed truths. As the words left his lips, Jack noticed a tremor ripple through Sarah. There was an unmistakable weight to them, the gravity of change pressing upon her. This pivotal moment felt like a seed being sown in the fertile ground of both their lives. What growth might be harvested from this confrontation? Sarah turned to her fiancé, a flicker of determination igniting in her gaze. This isn't just your confession. We need to talk about us, the good and the bad, she asserted, challenging the status quo that had suffocated their relationship. The vulnerable pieces of Jack's own journey seemed to resonate within her, and he felt a swell of hope. Jack's own heart pounded in unison with the burgeoning conflict, sensing the risk in opening the door to a discussion dripping with potential heartache. What clarity awaited on the other side? "I want what's best for you, Sarah," the fiancé murmured. The resignation in his voice felt sincere despite the struggle. Jack saw a flicker of transformation taking root, not just in himself, but in them both. Moments like this were powerful crossroads that defined character amid chaos. "I never thought this day would come," he added, casting a sideways glance at Jack, a silent acknowledgement of their mutual reckoning. Jack met his gaze, comprehension settling between them like shared air. They would both emerge changed. There was a beauty in this unbearable tension, in the unraveling of secrets, and Jack recognized that it was more than just exposing the fragility of another's truth. It was his own awakening that beckoned. As they began to peel back the layers of history and unspoken desires, the room seemed to flicker with the raw potential of a transformation underway. Jack faced his own reflections alongside Sarah, adjusting the lenses through which he viewed not just her challenges, but his own motivations for stepping into this chaotic space. In that moment, Jack realized he stood on the brink of something significant, a decision that could lead him to either confront his lingering feelings for Sarah or retreat back into the shadows of uncertainty. The lines between love and friendship were blurrier than he had ever wanted to admit. What would he choose when the dust settled? Would this confrontation ignite an unexpected alliance between them, or would he find himself fractured amid the desires and fears that intertwined with their destinies? Armed with newfound resolve, Jack questioned what he could truly learn from this tangled web of honesty. And as their truth unfurled before them, the questions of what was next loomed larger, pulling them all toward a future as unpredictable as the emotions that had brought them here. Would courage lead them out of darkness or into deeper entanglements? The tension rose, waiting for a single choice to tip the balance. A shiver ran through Jack as he processed the weight of Sarah's gaze, feeling the urgency of the moment compress into a singularity of choice. The room pulsed with tension, suffocated by years of silence. This revelation was not merely about love, but about breaking free from chains forged in neglect and unspoken truths. He couldn't go back to the status quo. The shadows that once felt safe were now suffocating. He took a breath, conscious of time slipping away. "We can't keep hiding, Sarah," he urged, voice steady despite the tumult inside him. "Your fiancé deserves honesty. So do you. And so do I." Each word felt like a chisel striking stone, carving out not just their current reality, but the possibility of something different. Jack watched as Sarah wrestled with his assertion. She stood on the precipice of revelation, teetering between fear and the tantalizing allure of liberation. Was this the moment she had been waiting for, the catalyst to spark her awakening? "Maybe you're right," she admitted slowly, a tremor in her voice, embodying his own doubts. "But what if that leads to the heartbreak?" The vulnerability in her question struck a nerve, mirroring the fears he had harbored all along. It wasn't just about love. It was about exposing oneself to the potential for pain, to the risk of unraveling everything she had relied upon. "Heartbreak is part of growth," Jack replied, feeling conviction sharpen his delivery. "But so is honesty. I want you to live without regret, whether or not it includes me. It's time to let the truth take center stage." His words, resonating with an intensity he anticipated, directed not just towards her, but to himself as much. As Sarah's fiancé shifted awkwardly, Jack sensed an unsettling truth hang in the air. Their existence had relied on comfortable lies cloaked in routine. Could they transcend this dynamic, navigating painful revelations to emerge reborn? The thought both exhilarated and terrified him. "I don't want to hurt you," Sarah whispered, her voice coiled tightly with conflicting emotions. "And I don't want to live in hiding," Jack responded with clarity, grappling with how this needed to be the tipping point for them all. If they truly embraced honesty, Jack understood they would each have to bear the weight of their truths, and that responsibility might well shatter them. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, and in that singular instant, Jack saw the flicker of determination ignite within her. It was the pivot he had long hoped for. "You're right. I need to figure out what I truly want, even if it means facing discomfort." Around them, the world buzzed with an intensity they had long avoided. Jack perceived an opportunity not just for Sarah, but for himself. In standing tall while exposing her imperfections, they could simultaneously confront their own conflicts. It felt paradoxical, but necessary, a chance to rewrite their narrative. Would this confrontation bind them closer or force them into isolation? "I'm here, Sarah," Jack said, his tone gentler now. "Whatever happens next, we face it together." He marveled at how quickly everything had shifted. Vulnerability was fierce and frightening, yet as liberating as a breath of fresh air. As the melody of their conversation drifted, Jack felt a tremor of anticipation coursing through him. This was stepping into the unknown, a catalyst for growth. But at what cost? Yet, a flicker of possibility sparkled on the horizon. The decision loomed before him, the stakes ever increasing. How one fragile choice could usher them into an entirely different realm of existence. Would clarity penetrate the tangles of their entangled lives, or would they find themselves ensnared deeper in their own making? Jack's heart bore the brunt of countless what-ifs. But at that moment, something was unmistakably clear. The shadows had begun to recede, and the dawn of authenticity was set to break. And with that dawning realization, Jack grappled not just with his feelings for Sarah, but with the deeper question of who he was willing to become and whether the friend he had been was enough for the man he needed to be. Would he step boldly into the light, or retreat once more into the comfort of silence? In the swirling tempest of uncertainty, Jack felt the warmth of bravery unfurl within him. Sarah's gaze met his, eyes shimmering with potential and invitation to tear away the veils cloaking their shared truths. This was it, the moment where their destinies entwined, leading them toward greater authenticity. "Let me speak," her fiancé interjected, the rawness of his voice trembling through the tense air. Jack and Sarah turned to him, the atmosphere vibrating with the weight of unspoken confessions. Here was a chance, a potential pivot that could redefine them all. "I've hidden from you," he continued, a newfound hesitance in his tone signaling the walls that had protected him were starting to crumble, "because I didn't know how to face my own failures. I thought avoiding the truth might shield you from pain." Jack could sense the collective tension in the air ease slightly, revealing the vulnerability underlying their circumstances. "But I see now," the fiancé pressed on, "that all I accomplished was to create a chasm between us, one I'm terrified I may never close." The honesty hanging between them clung like mist, yet it was a release and acknowledgement that resonated with Jack. He could feel the weight of his own past, of hidden fears and half-truths reflected back at him. In this moment, the echoes of his own struggles coalesced with those around him. "Truth doesn't guarantee comfort," Jack interjected gently, aware of how the complexity of feelings intertwined. "But it gives us strength. We can choose to face the discomfort instead of running from it." He knew they stood at the precipice of either despair or rebirth, and this felt beyond just their personal journeys. Their silence could no longer mask the deeper narratives meant to be uncovered. "I don't want to shut you out any longer, Sarah," the fiancé confessed, the vulnerability in his voice palpable. "You deserve to know how I've felt, even if it means admitting my shortcomings." Jack watched as Sarah absorbed those words. Her expression shifted, no longer just a reflection of hurt, but a glimmer of empowerment. They were forging a new path, one built on honesty. With her fiancé's admission, Sarah took a deep breath, her shoulders relaxing ever so slightly. "Then let us confront this together. I won't allow my life to be shadowed by fear anymore. We have to talk." Her words resonated, casting a light toward acceptance rather than mere survival. Jack marveled at how she shaped the landscape of possibilities, and he felt a surge of pride swell within him. As the room breathed with an electric charge, Jack turned to Sarah, his heart thumping in sincere recognition. This wasn't just a moment for her. It was an awakening for him too. "As we dive into your truth, let us not forget our own lessons in this," he whispered softly. "Emotional transparency means acknowledging not just sacrifices, but also aspirations." "I'm ready to be brave," Sarah declared with renewed determination, rolling her shoulders back, the weight of expectation and cowardice slowly lifting. Jack felt invigorated by her transformation. She was no longer subdued by fear, but driven by an internal authority fueled by her experiences. "I want to speak for you, but I think it's time for both of us to embrace what we want realistically and unapologetically." Each word was deliberate, and Jack recognized that the act of acknowledging one's own truth is not merely an endpoint, but a foundation on which to build new futures. Together, they were breaking down barriers, unearthing their narratives to reveal uncharted territories. Feeling the shift in energy, Sarah's fiancé straightened, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. Then I need to start here. I'm sorry for the lies. I forked off the road, trading honesty for comfort, but it ended up causing more pain. That's the first step, Jack said, sensing a unity build in them that hadn't existed before. Now, let us define what comes next together. As they ventured deeper into vulnerability, Jack dug into his own heart, ready to unearth the subconscious whispers of fear and longing he had kept concealed. For so long, I've spectated life instead of engaging, afraid to dive in. Yet, through this mess, I've discovered the power of connection. The fear we hold is not a signal to run, but an invitation to engage. Sarah met his gaze, and under the warmth of their exchange, there lay an unspoken understanding, a recognition of shared growth. Her journey wasn't only about missing the wedding. It was about forging her path forward, emboldened by emerging truths. As their conversation unfolded, Jack recognized the beauty of accountability, the risks involved in stripping away the armor meant to protect them. His own metamorphosis had begun. Perhaps, in this revelation, he could inspire Sarah's fiancé to seek the honesty he had evaded, urging him to refrain from turning away from unavoidable truths. Together, they formed a newfound alliance. Through shared vulnerabilities, they were reconstructing a fragile but authentic bond that resonated beyond mere words. Here's to honesty and redemption, Jack said, a triumphant smile warming the space between them. In that moment, he felt liberated from his own fears, recognizing that they were embarking on a collective journey of growth and discovery. Watching Sarah's eyes brighten with recognition that echoed his own, he knew they were each paving a path toward fulfillment, one built on mutual respect and honesty. Jack had conquered his internal battles, emerging with solid confidence in his own voice and purpose, transformed not just by circumstances, but by the willingness to embrace the complexity of human connections. Life isn't just about expectations, he concluded, their futures delicately intertwined. It's about forging ahead together, no matter how messy or imperfect. And as he looked around, the storm outside softened, much like the frayed edges they had learned to embrace within. This was their moment, a quintessential embodiment of growth and courage realized standing on the edge of a new beginning, each shard of their past morphing into a clear, inspiring direction forward. Now was the time for action, not just introspection. You need to subscribe now to witness the powerful transformations unfolding in every life story. Leave a like now to show your appreciation for genuine vulnerability and growth. Comment your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this incredible journey. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need a little inspiration and courage. Don't miss out. This is the moment to show your unwavering support.